Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Orvie Dingwall. I am president of the University of Manitoba's Faculty Association, and we are here today to talk about the importance of Manitoba's universities, and specifically about the importance of the University of Manitoba and UMFA being able to bargain for a free and fair collective deal. I want to thank everyone who's gathered here today, the New Democratic Party, the Manitoba Liberals, and our UMFA members. We're here on Treaty 1 land, home of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, Dene people, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We're here because we care about universities. We care about university students, and we care about the future of public education here in Manitoba. And the future of public education in Manitoba is really and truly the future of Manitoba. We ensure at the University of Manitoba, as its faculty members of professors, instructors, and librarians, that we are providing the highest quality education absolutely possible. But in this moment, that high quality education is at risk with cuts or threatened cuts to university funding, with interference in our bargaining, and with interference in how the university operates. We work hard every single day to make this province a better place. Our members are educating future nurses, doctors, musicians, architects, engineers, critical thinkers, politicians, and more. We've got charts here, there's 3 of them. They outline that our salaries right now are at the lowest of the comparable universities across this country. They're actually the lowest in English-speaking universities. Our members deserve better. And when we don't properly fund our universities, students go elsewhere, so does research and innovation. They don't happen here in Manitoba. We want to keep them here in Manitoba. When there is interference in our collective bargaining, our faculty members, they don't come or they don't stay. This current government has interfered in our bargaining 3 times. We would like to send the message to Premier Gertsen, to Interim Premier Gertsen, and to the Minister of Advanced Education, Minister Uwako. It's a clear ask. Stop interfering in our collective bargaining so we can negotiate reasonable salary wages and sustain the future of university education here in Manitoba. Next, I'd like to introduce Sachin Kagil, a cancer researcher, associate professor of pharmacology and therapeutics. He's going to share the experience from the Rady Faculty of Health Sciences and the impacts that government interference is having on innovation, recruitment, and retention.
Thank you, Orvie, and thank you to the NDP government. Thank you to everyone here. The U of M has always been considered an economic driver of the province. Researchers garner hundreds of millions of dollars in national and international grant dollars and revenue. These projects cover all facets of basic, clinical, and applied health sciences, leading to the development and innovation that benefits Manitobans and Canadians. The money from these grants are used to employ skilled bachelor's, master's, and PhD level workers, and also train our next generation of scientists and medical professionals to keep our province going forward. Loss of these researchers means that these grant dollars and jobs go elsewhere. Training opportunities cease, which slows this research engine. Recruitment to fill these spots is stagnant, taking years and multiple rounds of searching to find someone. Many top candidates who interview end up bailing out when they receive their salary and research support offer. In speaking with these uninterested candidates, the university indicate that the salary does not cut it. A recent potential recruit told me 2 years after rejecting the University of Manitoba offer that he felt that his salary offer was a joke. Other candidates have explicitly stated that they would be taking a salary cut coming here from previous training positions. In the last 4 years, Manitoba has lost several talented and innovative health researchers. Following the disappointing wage settlement imposed by the now deemed illegal PSSA, we lost a top-rated researcher with expertise in anti-cancer drug development. And in the past year alone, we just lost a top-notch cancer researcher and a well-respected scientist who studies age-related brain diseases. They all left Manitoba due to the stagnant pay and a lack of research support, which had left them feeling underappreciated and undervalued following years of low salaries and limited career advancement. In their new positions outside of Manitoba, they have all seen substantial improved salaries, research support, and opportunities. Unfortunately, this is a widespread and common theme. We are hemorrhaging talented health researchers who are taking their grants, their labs, their job training opportunities, their innovations, and heading to other provinces where they get paid 20 to 70% more. During the pandemic, the PC government of Manitoba acted irresponsibly and played with Manitoban lives. It was researchers and medical sciences experts who spoke out, held the government's feet to the fire, and demanded action to force the government to use science and not politics to improve our pandemic numbers. Researchers here in Manitoba are committed to providing service and expertise to the community at large. But every researcher who leaves and every ensuing opening that cannot be filled is a loss that affects the health and well-being of every Manitoban. Recruitment and retention in Manitoba is pathetic, made possible by the PC government's continued interference to improve salary gains, conditions, and supports for world-class researchers who would have otherwise chosen Manitoba to do their work. If you want the best, you recruit the best, not settle for the 10th best. Continued interference will have a domino effect on the future health of Manitobans, as we will no longer have the expertise to resolve the next pandemic or prevent or cure cancer or develop the newest treatments for Manitobans. In the end, we will not have a made in Manitoba solution. We will always need outside help. If Manitoba wants to be competitive, and if it wants to look after the health of Manitobans, we need the provincial government to stop interfering in bargaining so that the university can use its vast resources to invest in top researchers who will bring their innovative work to Manitoba. The future of health research in Manitoba is in danger, as world-class experts do not see Manitoba as a worthwhile place to conduct their work due to low salary supports and widespread disrespect shown by the PC government of Manitoba. Let's stop the brain drain. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin. Next, I'd like to introduce Jamie Moses, MLA for St. Vital.
Thank you so much. We're here today to speak about this government's interference in the negotiations between the faculty and the U of M. And we've seen this negotiation interference take place over the last couple years with this PC government. Bill 28, wage freeze, that was illegally brought in. Bill 33, they again consistently are finding ways to interfere with the autonomy of our institutions, and it's taking a real toll on faculty. On top of that, it has huge impacts on students. Students are seeing this PC government interference, and they're asking themselves, what's the future going to be like for my program? What's the future going to be for me when it comes to graduation or jobs after that? This government is consistently interfering, and it's causing problems for faculty and for students. And employers who are counting on graduates in the spring are now asking themselves, is that going to be at risk because of a potential strike? Because of this government's interference? Again, we're calling today for this government to stop interfering with the negotiations. With the strike vote looming, the last thing we need right now as we're preparing for our economy and for ourselves to get out of the pandemic, is for this government to interfere and make things worse. So with that, I'd like to invite my colleague Lisa to come up and make a few comments as well. Lisa Naylor, MLA for Wolseley.
Folks, I just want to for Manitoba. It's not just people in the faculties at University of Manitoba. So one of those examples is healthcare. I see this interference by the PC government as an interference in recovery from the pandemic. You've already heard that healthcare dollars, research dollars, and innovation are leaving the province, but the other people that are leaving are the faculty and the faculty that work in the nursing program. Faculty are burnt out, they're exhausted, underappreciated, and underpaid, and they're leaving. And the difficulty now is recruiting new faculty to that department. We need to train up an entire new generation of nurses to help us recover from this pandemic. The government is interfering with that. The other thing they're interfering in is with the reconciliation efforts at the University of Manitoba. The University of Manitoba has made great strides in trying to indigenize more of its programming, especially programs like social work. They've also made good efforts to recruit and to retain Indigenous faculty. But this government's interference has meant that those faculty have been attracted elsewhere or have just not ever been interested in coming to Manitoba or staying in Manitoba to bring that voice and to help the university adopt the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations for education. So this government, through their interference in bargaining, is also interfering in reconciliation, and that is something we need to move forward on in this province. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Vasilio. I'm the MLA for Fort Garry and the official opposition finance critic. What I wanted to talk to you about today is that one of the consequences and things that we're dealing with the pandemic is the economic recovery. And we've seen that as a province we had to pull together to deal with the pandemic. And we still have to pull together as a province to deal with the recovery. And we're not seeing that from the government right now. We're seeing the government picking a fight with one of our biggest and most important economic institutions in this province. And it has innumerable effects. When you think of a professor's working conditions, those are their students' classroom conditions. And we seem to lose that. It's very personal for me. I had my oldest son start university this September. And when we lose cutting-edge researchers, they take their grants with them to another province. But more importantly, they take their knowledge and their innovation. And our students lose that. Our students lose opportunities to learn and to be at the cutting edge of the jobs for tomorrow. So this government may be trying to win a petty battle, but all Manitobans lose in the long run. And this will make it harder to recover from COVID, and this takes us a step backward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we don't do very many nonpartisan events in this, so I do think this is significant that we've joined together with the NDP for this, because this is not a partisan issue. The fact is this government has a history interfering with bargaining in a way that has cost the U of M millions of dollars. But it costs the province much, much more than that. In talking with faculty, there are a bunch of things that are very clear. And one of the things is that the U of M, they want to be able to train new nurses. They want to be able to train computer science graduates. These are the jobs we need. But they can't actually do it because there isn't enough funding for it, because they don't have the faculty. We have a problem with healthcare. We know that with people, with attracting and retaining qualified people. And we're losing them. And we're losing them because the PC government treats them badly. They've treated people badly in healthcare. They've treated people terribly in education as well. And it is a huge risk for us, because one of the things that's happened in this pandemic, and you're seeing it right now all over the world, there are problems with global supply chains. We found out that we couldn't get PPE on time. We had to get it from somewhere else. We have to be more self-reliant. And we can't do that if everything is happening elsewhere. And it directly impacts the growth of the province, the health of the province, and whether people will come here to study and live, because one of the biggest sources of immigrants to Manitoba are students at the universities. We are losing out over and over and over again. We have an opportunity to build something to attract people from all over the world and all across Canada, from all across Manitoba, to do something fantastic. But this government seems intent on hollowing out universities the way they've hollowed out everything else. And that is incredibly dangerous. So we're proud to stand here as Liberals, we're proud to stand here with UMFA and with the NDP, not because we want to interfere in bargaining, but because we want bargaining to actually happen the way it's supposed to, and to let people negotiate the wages they deserve. Because this is about being competitive. We are not competitive, even with Saskatchewan. So we have an opportunity, and we have done fantastic things in the past. We just want to keep building on that and let the universities do what they do best, which is to research and to teach. Because UMFA and the University of Manitoba, they know what they're doing. They know how to run a university. They know how to teach. They know how to research. And with all due respect, the BCs don't. And so they need to keep their hands off it. And that's it. Thank you.
I want to thank again the NDP and the Manitoba Liberals and also the members of UMFA who have gathered here today. And to close with the sentiment of we are at a critical juncture in post-secondary education in Manitoba, and there is an easy solution, and that is to stop, for the PC government to stop interfering in UMFA's bargaining. Let us bargain freely and fairly with the university and leave the operations of the university up to the university. We are now available for questions. We also have a Francophone member who is available to speak in French, and we thank you for your attention today.
Can you speak to some of the faculties in particular that are really struggling with recruitment and retention right now?
So which faculties are struggling in recruitment and retention right now? All of them, especially the professional programs. And I mean, this ranges, we've heard already about nursing, this is engineering and business, computer science. Basically, if you name a faculty, they are struggling with recruitment and retention, and also particularly with Indigenous studies. We have universities across the country really committed to reconciliation, and we want the scholars to be able to come here and be paid a competitive wage, and then have an environment that is supportive of them to be able to do the teaching and research in Indigenous ways that they need to do it.
How long has this been an issue for?
This has been an issue absolutely since 2016, when the government interfered in our bargaining, and the university went along with us, went along with it, and didn't tell us at the bargaining table, which led to a ruling from the Labour Board that was inappropriate bargaining. So basically, since the inception of the Public Sector Sustainability Act, this has been a significant issue.
I mean, looking at the charts, some salaries are tens of thousands lower than in other places. Ultimately, I mean, what are you asking for? Like, what offer would you want that might make things a little more competitive?
Our instructors, professors, and librarians recognize that catching up is not going to happen in one round of bargaining. We have a very reasonable salary offer on the table with the university, and we would like the university to be able to respond in an appropriate way without any kind of mandate from the government to block them. This is something that we can work towards. We certainly can't We have to make improvements now. We're not expecting to jump up to the top. I will also note that university administration, there's comparable charts like this. Their salaries are at the absolute top compared to the other institutions. So our salaries have been frozen for 5 years, and administrative salaries are at the top of these charts and are comparable to the other institutions.
Can you ballpark what that salary increase would be in the conference?
The salary, we have right now a $10 million ask on the table, and the university has a $1 million ask or offer on the table. We're very far apart, and the university is claiming that they can't move off of that because of a mandate from the government.
What is
When you talk about recruitment agencies, can you quantify that at all? Like, you have a failed success rate on trying to recruit professors in the university?
We have been hearing from faculties across our campuses that when they are when they have interested candidates, that those candidates choose instead offers from other institutions where those salaries are higher.
The government says that mandates are not unusual for governments to hand down to universities. So before 2016, what did that mandate look like, if anything?
It's our understanding that the government has always provided a suggestion to the university about how they would, as a major funder of the university, that is normal, but the university has never been bound to follow that mandate. The university should be able, as is the structure of autonomy in post-secondary institutions, the university should be free to deal with its finances and with its bargaining as it sees best fit.
What is the union's stance on market supplements as a solution to address some of the gaps here?
In our salary proposal, we are asking for increases for all of our members because that's what's needed in this moment. We are not in favor of the university determining who gets a market stipend and who doesn't. There are already many ways within our collective agreement and within our salary structures to provide extraordinary salary increases in those departments where if you worked outside of the university, your salary would be far higher than inside. We already have the means to accommodate that. We don't need additional ways to solve those issues.
Can you elaborate on what you meant by a 10 million ask that you have on the offer table?
We have several different ways that we're asking for salary increases. One is a 2.75 general increase over in each of the first 2 years of the agreement. We have some agreement with the university about raising the floor so that those coming in brand new wouldn't start so low. Also the opportunity for those who have topped out at the top of their salary structure to have some movement on top of that, and also to have a baseline increase to make up for the unlawful PSSA that has been put upon us, so a one-time increase in that way.
I hope I'm not putting you on the spot with this one, but you've spoken generally about, hearing that this happens throughout multiple faculties, multiple departments. Do you have maybe a personal story that you may recall of someone that you spoke with or someone that you heard from that maybe turned down an offer? Can you perhaps share a story that you've heard?
Sure. Yes, I'll turn to Sachin to answer.
So following the 2016-2017 PSSA period, I had a close colleague of mine who was in drug development who turned to me following the debacle and said, "That's it, I'm out, I give up. There's no hope for any gains or growth. I am looking for the first opportunity out." Within a few months, garnered a new offer from an Ontario university that was at $40,000 higher than what he was already being paid. packed up his family, moved, and is very happy, growing there, very successful. This individual was at the leading edge of drug development and delivery for developing treatments for women with ovarian cancer. That expertise, that knowledge, out the door from Manitoba into Ontario. That's an example of the talent, the innovation that was here that we're losing. You know, we had an opportunity for made in Manitoba approaches for these types of researchers, and we're losing those benefits.
Okay, thanks so much, everyone. We'll stick around if there are additional questions.